Move on to the Hawks and the situation last night. Rioli squandered an opportunity there at the end of the game.
He did, yeah. Let's talk about the footy. And it was a great game of footy. As we see here, Cyril was back to his best, which we'll see in a moment. But he did have a chance here, and you know, maybe eight, almost 9 times out of 10, you'd back him to gobble that up and run in and kick a goal. And that was in the last minute of the game. It would have put the Hawks in front and probably won them the game. But I know Alistair Clarkson certainly won't be blaming Cyril for that. It was a game full of individual moments like that. As we see here in a minute, Cyril was absolutely back to his best. He was electrifying. He just looked sharp. I was there live. He was chasing, tackling. He was desperate, diving on the ball.
He was the spark that got him back in the game.
He was. You know, the Swans got the jump on them, Brownie. They kicked the first 5 or 6 goals. But Cyril, a couple of Cyril's individual moments here. We see him have a shot for goal, which might have gone through if there wasn't so much dew on the ground. But some of his efforts here, as you said, the Hawks were a bit slow out of the blocks. Got the Hawks back in the game. So it was the best game that I've seen Cyril play for a long time. I think Hawks fans probably, you know, when Cyril's played 3 or 4 games in a row, probably heart in their mouth a little bit in terms of, we know that his history with soft tissue and that sort of thing, but geez, he was good last night.
It's more the amount of times he doesn't touch the ball but he's involved in a contest. He might not even lay a tackle, but it's just a deft little hand that he gets out that he'd have 6 or 7 of them a game, which puts him above most other players.
He made experienced Swans players panic, and we know he's been doing that for years. And there was a period in the second quarter where the Hawks' pressure was unbelievable, and he was the catalyst. He led it.
Did he only play half forward? Was he able to move into the midfield a little bit, which has obviously been asked of him in the past?
Interesting. He actually started in the centre bounce, the first centre bounce dealt, which he's done before. But no, he played largely as that sort of pressure half forward.
Kicking was an issue last night. First time I've seen this for a long time with Hawthorn. Missed chances in front of goal. Gunston here late. Other opportunities Nicky Dell that should have capitalised on.
Yeah, absolutely. And in these close games, when you're the 2 best teams in the league or in the top 4, these are the things that make the difference. And both these teams know this better than anybody else. Been in multiple grand finals, and this is what has separated them from the rest of the competition.
Yeah, there was one that's, I think, worse than that, in my opinion. And it's Matty Suckling. I think he's been a good player, but there's a lot of things that he tries to bite too much off. And I think this was one here on the week. 4 points down. He's got to get that in long and high. But this is just a lazy kick. If he was in a lesser side, he'd be probably exposed for that week in and week out. But he gets away with it when he's at Hawthorn. There's a lot of Stevie J about it, where you've just got to play the percentages sometimes.
So if you're Alistair Clarkson, sorry, Dal, are you wrapping him over the knuckles for that? I mean, he does that 6 or 8 times a game and he comes off, and he did last night and hit blokes on the chest.
Clarko defended him, but I think that he's not as effective a kick as we all think.
That time of the game, it's got to go to the top of the square.
I was going to say, sorry, Brownie, I think he's the best kick in the AFL.
Do you? Yeah.
He's that good. And I think, similar to some of the small forwards, you've got to take the good with the bad. And I agree with Ball. He'll do that 6 times and we'll get 5 goals out of it. If you make a mistake every now and then, accept it.
I'd question
Hawthorn fans would have been up and about last night to see the job that James Frawley did on Lance Franklin. Buddy had 22 disposals last week, kicked 4 goals, 5. Just the 7 touches last night. Didn't trouble the scorers. Very, very rare for Lance Franklin to not trouble the scorers. And James Frawley was played forward a little bit at Melbourne. We've just seen last night how good a defender he can be, but he was off.
What a game. Be honest. No scoring shots.
Yeah, terrific by James Frawley. Almost the best man on the ground, in my opinion. There was a couple that may have played a better game than him, but this guy, Lance Franklin, he is the best tall man in the competition. To keep him to 7 possessions, the way he runs around, fantastic effort from James Frawley.
And a premiership replay, niggle. It was always going to happen. I think the Hawks are probably the best at it. I've often been spoken about this unsociable football. Probably their number 1 at it, Lewis. And it was always going to happen. So you've got 3 here, probably retaliating, maybe a few words about last year's grand final. Mitchell's probably letting him know, I've got
Benny 3
danglies. We've got 1 from last year as well. So
and Sydney gave as good as they got, didn't they? Which was great.
And from a spectator's point of view, I think you love it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're trying to stamp a few things out of the game, but just the niggle, there was obviously means a lot to the players, the passion. It's fantastic. It's great to watch.
The game had everything last night. I went along and enjoyed it. It was a grand final rematch. The 2 great teams. We're going to see them again. One thing I hated was the booing of Adam Goods. It's un-Australian. I don't understand it. I can't get my head around it. Makes you feel uncomfortable about our country being in the ground. And I just can't put my finger on why anyone would stoop to the level to do this. This is a dual Brownlow medalist, an Australian of the Year, and I don't know whether it's become...
It was all over the callback radio. Do you have a theory on why? I mean, we assume it was the Hawthorn supporters.
I asked people around me what could possibly be the reason, and I thought you played a good game too.
They don't boo average players, so I wouldn't worry too much. They booed Wayne Carey for 10 years.
Tall poppy syndrome.
Did you get booed, Lloydie?
Occasionally.
By the Hawk supporters.
Fremantle were back in town. They trounced your boys last night, Nicky Dell. When I say back in town, they continue.